What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fourth Down Show. I am your host, Kicking It with Keith, and this is the AFC West Index Show. All things Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I know there's not a lot of Charger fans out here in the East Coast, so this is going to be for you guys, definitely for some of the guys back out west. And, we're here to debunk all the theory about there's no fans for the Chargers, no Charger fans actually show up to support the team, all that good. Listen, I'm here for you guys. Wherever there's a Charger fan, we're going to talk about it right now. Everything from the offseason, the draft, departures, additions, everything Chargers for the next few minutes. Let's do it. All right, guys, listen. Last season wasn't a really good one for the Chargers. Predominantly one of the more respectable teams in the AFC West. For the past 10 years, like I was mentioning earlier, you kind of get the feel for a team that's usually either in the playoffs or contending to be in the playoffs. And last season was the first losing season since 2016. And I believe prior to that, it was some time before they weren't in the playoff picture at all. Unfortunately, last season there was a lot of injuries. It was really difficult for the Chargers. Going 5-11 isn't always, glamorous, whether you start strong or end strong. I felt like the Chargers have always had this moniker of, knowing how to lose games. Like no other team knows how to lose games in a new fashion like the Chargers. And unfortunately, that seemed to be the case to continue last season with the Chargers. There was quite a few games I felt like, all right, Chargers look like they're going to ride this one out. And next thing you know, they're losing on a last-minute field goal or losing on a turnover. And I feel like this is a consistent thing with the Chargers. One thing I like about the Chargers is Anthony Lynn, head coach. I like him, man. Guy means business. Reminds me a lot of Mike Tomlin. Yeah, he's another black coach, which is awesome, but no nonsense. He knows what he wants from his team, and he knows last season wasn't acceptable. But it also sucks that you guys weren't in your own stadium. You guys weren't even in a football stadium. And I truly feel for any fan base to go through that. I'm a Jet fan, as you know. Us and the Giant fans, we share a stadium. Yes, it's a brand new stadium. Yes, well, not really brand new. I'm sorry. MetLife is still a piece of shit, in my opinion. But we still share a stadium, and we don't even share it in our own state. So for you guys to go to a soccer stadium and it just, that sucks, man. That sucks. I really felt for you guys. I believe you guys were there for like the past 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, we're jumping into our stadium now. SoFi Stadium. Yeah, we're sharing it with the Rams. Trust me, I feel that connection, Giants, Jets. But it's your stadium now. When you're playing in it, that's yours. So listen, Charger fans, new beginning. Clean slate. Got a new house to build new memories in. So listen, let's jump right into some of the key departures for the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, let's do it. So we traded Russell Okung. Russell Okung was with the Chargers for some time. To move him is a little bit of all right, maybe he's getting over the hill. We understand that Russell's been with the franchise for some time. And it's probably just time to turn the page on Russell because we have a revamped offense coming in, and we're going to touch on the key cog with that left tackle position, which is the quarterback position, and we're going to touch on that in a bit. We also let go of Adrian Phillips, safety, nose tackle Brandon Mebane. We also let go of one of the more high-profile names in the linebacking core that's been around in the NFL for some time. That's Thomas Davis. If you're an NFL fan and you know who Thomas Davis is, you got to respect the guy. Guy literally has like no ACLs, and he's been doing it for a decade plus. So Thomas Davis, yeah, he may be a little bit old, but that's a guy that you love, you just root for that dude. We also let go of Melvin Gordon. Pretty solid running back for the Chargers organization for some time now. And you know what? He probably deserved to go. It was about that time, with the holdout, and it not working in his favor. We kind of see why it was probably meant to happen, for him to go his way and the Chargers go their way. So, listen, they weren't going to give him the money. They weren't going to give him a big deal, whatever he was asking for. He's a pretty good running back. I mean, it's nothing special, but he'll have his days where he'll look spectacular, and there's days where he'll fumble, and, it's just, he's like on the slippery slope of probably joining another team. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on a new team come the end of this season, truth be told. But listen, all the best to Melvin Gordon. It is what it is. I really didn't like how he handled the situation with the Chargers because, we all know the Chargers have a little bit of a history of being cheap, But in this situation, his deal wasn't up. If he would have played out his deal, maybe he would have got compensated properly. But listen, the Chargers did the right thing, my personal opinion, and they have a star right behind them in Austin Eckler who showed out. So they don't miss Melvin Gordon pretty much at all, to be quite honest with you. And really, the biggest departure, and this is a huge departure, especially for this franchise, for the fans, and everything you know about the Chargers, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is heading to the Hall of Fame. Phillip Rivers is maybe one of the greatest Charger quarterbacks, or maybe the best Charger quarterback ever. Dan Fouts, but I'll throw my money on Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers gave his life for this franchise, man. Played a playoff game with a torn ACL. Took you guys to AFC, playoff fixtures. I believe one year you guys went 15-1. I mean, Phillip Rivers was amazing for you guys. Yeah, there was a lot of moments where, just the ball just didn't roll his way and turnover happy. We understand that, but Phillip Rivers was a rock, man, for about like 13, 14 years. We've seen what happened with Eli in New York. We see how Big Ben is kind of like deteriorating as well, and Phillip Rivers isn't getting any younger. He's very stationary in the cornerback position. So it was time. It was time, and I think it was done the best way it could have been done. It's very hard to move on from a Hall of Fame quarterback, but truth be told, they did it a pretty respectable way, and kudos to Phillip. I'm sure there's nothing but respect between him and the organization. So let's jump into some of the additions that the Chargers had, and there's a little bit of a interesting little group of guys right here. So with trading away Russell Okung, we acquire Trey Turner, guard. Trey Turner is a really nice guard. He's really quick off the ball, and in pull schemes, I like him a lot. And that's a big need for the Chargers. The interior offensive line was horrendous for Phillip Rivers last season. He was, under duress consistently, and for a quarterback who can't move, that's really tough. So I like that move, and that hopefully can be a staple in the interior offensive line for some years. Also adding Chris Harris Jr. Listen, Chris Harris Jr., there were some years Chris Harris Jr. could have been the best cornerback in the NFL. Hands down. Guy's amazing. Guy, he's on the second half, like, he's on the back burner of his career, more to say. Like, he's not what he used to be. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But listen, there's a good secondary already in place in Los Angeles. To add someone like that, who can probably jump from outside to inside, it's hard to find that kind of quality at all in the NFL, even in the draft. So that I like that move a lot. We'll see. Chris Harris probably is gonna wanna, tie them boots up really tight when he goes against Denver, because they didn't keep him. So staying within the division, I'm pretty sure that was a process that went through his mind, when he was debating where he was going to go in free agency. We also add Brian Bulaga, and that replaces, the hole that we moved out of when we traded, Russell Okung. When we moved Russell Okung, we acquire Brian Bulaga, and everybody who knows Brian Bulaga from his time in Green Bay, pretty solid. Listen, you're not getting all-pro left tackle, but you're getting someone who can do the job. And if you feel that's quite enough to move on from Russell, and you can, you get a gain right there with Bulaga, hey man, all for it. And we also add Linval Joseph in the interior defensive line. Also, remember, we let go of Brandon Mebane. So, Chargers did a good job of plugging in holes, that were created through like salary cap casualties or just personnel changes, and not bad, not bad. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, the draft. Now, I may touch on two players a little bit longer than I normally will, especially with what the Chargers did. So let's jump right into it. First and foremost, the first selection for the Los Angeles Chargers going into a new era, we select Justin Herbert. Now, Justin Herbert is an awesome athlete. Justin Herbert is going to be a quarterback that you're going to need to groom. You're going to need to have patience with. But there's so much to work with Justin Herbert that you salivate at the idea of what could be with Justin Herbert. Now, here's my problem. I'm not a big fan of Justin Herbert, the thrower. The thrower that Herbert is consistently inconsistent, extremely erratic, and has no feel for any type of accuracy or touch. I feel like he's throwing the ball about 80, 90 mile per hour, like for no reason, you know? I feel like there's no true touch on his passes. I don't feel like he leads his receivers quite well. I don't feel like he makes the proper throws under duress. And typically, a lot of rookie quarterbacks have that problem, so I'm not going to hold that against him. But I feel like he's a one read and react. And it reminds me a lot of Marcus Mariota during his time in Oregon. And this may be an Oregon thing where the one read and react factor of, playing quarterback at Oregon lingers into the NFL career. And I feel like that's a huge problem. I feel like he may be the type of quarterback to overthrow a lot, to maybe fit it into tight windows that necessarily is a bad idea to get his receivers in a little bit more trouble than they would. And I feel like he may miss wide open guys, and that's a worry. Now this just sounds like bust written all over it, but we have Tyrod Taylor. We roll with Tyrod Taylor for the whole year, and we let Justin Herbert sit. Listen, fans may not be in these games. This is a great time for Justin Herbert to sit and study. He probably may start some games because eventually this team may need some juice, especially in the division that they're in because it's going to be extremely competitive. But Justin Herbert needs to be a student of the game. Tyrod Taylor is a pretty solid quarterback. I don't know if he's a pretty solid teacher, but you can understand where Tyrod Taylor will show him, how to protect the football, how to not end drives, how to know how to continue drives, how to, just make the right play and not force it. And I feel like, that's a really good stepping stone for a young quarterback stepping into a franchise that needs life, that needs a charge, no pun intended. And Justin Herbert has to deliver because there was a lot invested into this pick, and to replace the quarterback that was Phillip Rivers, because essentially he is. We all know he is. Tyrod Taylor is just a Band-Aid, connecting the hole that was left with the departure of Rivers. Justin Herbert has to be the quarterback for this franchise for at least 2 different contracts. And we're talking about almost 7 to 10 years. So that's a lot placed on this kid's shoulders. I'm rooting for him. I would be cautious. I would say give it about 3 years. And by then, if you don't see NFL quarterback like prototype, like thrower, like any of that, you're looking at a guy who may not get out of his first contract, which is really, really worrying for any franchise because you invest a lot on a guy to really come out there and perform. And listen, I really hope I'm wrong, and I want everybody to know that. I really hope I'm wrong, but my eye test is my eye test. All right, moving on to a much more positive note, and I think this is going to be the rookie that you may want to keep your eyes on much more, is Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray, man, you want to talk about sideline to sideline? You want to talk about instincts? You want to talk about a feel for the game? A true defender who smells out a play? This guy will diagnose a play faster than... I haven't seen any guys with this type of speed and diagnosing the play all together at once. He just knows how to break up screens. He blows up runs out of the backfield. He's really instinctive, and I love everything about Kenneth Murray. I think this is a really good fit. Hopefully, we can kind of like merge out of that 3-4 that's been, what the Chargers have been for forever. Let this kid run. Give this kid space. Don't give him another linebacker to him to rub off of, to take on blocks. Let this kid get out there. Let this kid run. Let this kid just make mistakes. Fuck it, right? Just fuck it. Let him run. This is his best attribute, is seeing and diagnosing and attacking. That's Kenneth Murray. And listen, I love him. I love him. For you guys to get Justin Herbert and Kenneth Murray in terms of value in the draft, that's amazing. So let's just speed through the rest of the draft, which, kind of was a little bit weird after the Kenneth Murray. We take another running back, Joshua Kelly. All right, get to fill in, maybe a backup role or change of pace with Eckler. Wide receiver Joe Reed, safety Alohi Gilman, and ending with a pretty, popular wide receiver, KJ Hill out of Ohio State. A lot of Ohio State, fans were wondering why was he slipping, but his speed didn't test well in the combine, so unfortunately that can be a knock, especially during the time of the draft. Let's jump into the depth chart for the Los Angeles Chargers. As you can see, we have Justin Herbert starting, but we all know starting week 1 will be Tyrod Taylor. But eventually, Justin Herbert is going to get in there. So I have Justin Herbert being the starter or the ideal starter. These depth charts are pretty much what I envision the end of the year is going to look like, hopefully with no injuries. At running back, you have the star Austin Eckler. All the fantasy aficionados out there loved Austin Eckler last year. Hopefully he can repeat. I'm a big fan of the little guy, and I love the effort he puts out there every Sunday. Star wide receiver at Keenan Allen. I don't even have to touch on Keenan Allen. Maybe a top 3 route runner in the NFL. That guy is disgusting, and he doesn't get enough respect. I wish we would have gave up a top pick to go get him because he deserves to go win. That guy's disgusting. He's just disgusting. Opposite of him, you have another machine at wide receiver, Mike Williams, who I loved coming out of Clemson. This guy's a freak. He's a hell of an athlete. The jump ball radius for this kid is ridiculous. This guy can just go up and get it. And hopefully he can stay healthy because I believe Mike Williams can be a number 1 wide receiver. And, for the people out there who say the name Mike Williams is a curse, listen, hopefully this Mike Williams can shut y'all up because I really like Mike Williams, and wishing him all the best. Right in the slot, we have Joe Reed, newly drafted wide receiver. We'll see what we got with him. Tight end, Hunter Henry, who's on the franchise tag. We got to see what we're going to get with him. But as you can see, there's a lot of toys here for Justin Herbert and Tyrod Taylor to work with. We just got to have proper execution from the quarterback position. Up front, Sam Tevi at the left tackle position. Dan Feeney in the guard position. Mike Pouncey at center. Trey Turner, who we mentioned at right guard. And Brian Bulaga at right tackle. Now, we also mentioned earlier we moved on from Russell Okung at the tackle position and we replaced him with Brian Bulaga. Now, just give you more of an insight, we're kicking Brian Bulaga to the right because we got Sam Tevi, more of an athlete at this stage of his career at the left tackle position. But nonetheless, you fill the hole. You get rid of a tackle, you fill it with a tackle. But also keep in mind they also have a guard, Forrest Lamp, who was a first-round pick a few years ago. He just can't stay healthy. And also center Scott Quisenberry, who's not pictured here, but is a good rotational guy. I believe he can play guard also, just in case if any of these guys get hurt. Moving on to the defense, 4-3. Like I mentioned earlier, we're moving on to a 4-3 because I feel like that 3-4 in Charger land is just played out, and I'm pretty sure it's kind of slowly been transitioning to a 3-4. Like I can't tell you I watch every Chargers game, but pretty much this is what they need. I feel like this is perfect for them. At left defensive end, you got the all-star pro, everything, all pro, whatever you want to call him, Joey Bosa. He's a fantastic bookend. He got a huge contract. And, when you got a bookend that good, man, listen, you pay him, you keep him, you bless the gods he never leaves because they don't come that good. Moving on to the interior, Justin Jones and Linval Joseph. Opposite of Joey Bosa, you got Melvin Gordon, who's quality, man. Melvin Ingram. I apologize. Melvin Ingram, Keith. He is as good as they come. All pros pro. He's going to get in there and be productive as he's always been throughout his career. At the linebacker position, you got Denzel Perryman. You got inside my boy, Kenneth Murray. On the other side, you have Drew Tranquil. I hope I'm saying that right. What's going on with these names in these videos? My pronunciation is fucking horrible. All right, moving on to the secondary, which is a huge strength for the Chargers. You have Chris Harris Jr., you have Casey Hayward, who's another stud. You have free safety Nasir Adderley, who's going into his second year. I feel like Nasir is going to be a very under-the-radar type of player. He's going to do his thing. And we all know, finishing up, we got Derwin James. Now, Derwin James, we all know he's just a stone-cold killer at the safety position. We all compare him and Adams together. He's just a boss. We all know what he brings to the table, and hopefully he can stay healthy. All right, guys, let's finish up with the schedule for the Chargers. Week 1 at the Bengals. Who knows? Maybe you get Burrow. Maybe you get Justin Herbert. I highly doubt it, but that's interesting in itself. Week 2 at home against the champion Chiefs. Week 3 again at home, Carolina Panthers. Week 4 on the road against the Bucs, and you follow that up with another road trip in the NFC South against the New Orleans Saints. Week 6 at home against the Jets. Week 7 fly out to Miami against the Dolphins. Week 8 at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Follow that up with another home game against the Raiders. Week 10 is your bye, which is pretty good. Hopefully by then you get Justin Herbert a little bit equipped with the offense, and you could groom him into the Week 11 fixture, which is on the road at Denver. Following up with another road trip at Buffalo. And, who knows? Maybe Tyrod Taylor wants to go up against his old team right there. Week 13 at home against the Patriots. Week 14 at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Week 15 on the road against the Raiders. Week 16, again, another AFC West fixture against the Broncos at home. And you finish up on the road against the Kansas City champion Chiefs. All right, so my ideal thought with the Chargers, I'm going to make this real quick. This is a really good roster. To some extent, it has some issues. The interior line on offense and defense is a little bit of worry. We're a little young. So we'll see. The quarterback position is the biggest question mark. And, there's a lot of toys to help out this quarterback. But again, I worry about this quarterback and his accuracy issues. I see a lot of Ryan Tannehill Miami days. I see a lot of Marcus Mariota, as I mentioned. I even see a little bit of Josh Allen. But if you keep him within the reins of the offense and you keep him true to the principles of what you want to run on offense, and he doesn't give the ball away, 7-9, maybe 6-10. I know that's kind of cruel, but I don't really have a lot of faith in Tyrod Taylor. If it were me, I'd start the kid after the bye, personally, and we'll see what we got. There's a lot of weapons on the outside for him, and the defense. I love the defense. It may not have a lot of stops in it, but you have a lot of good players. So if you get the right mix, eventually maybe the Chargers could, maybe get it together. But this is a very difficult division, man. Broncos are better. The Raiders are still going to give you fits, and we all know what the Chiefs have. So we'll see, man. Listen, like, subscribe, share below. We're jumping into the Broncos next week to continue the AFC West Index. And you already know what it is, man. Legends are made on 4th down, baby. I'm out of here.